Hi to crypto friends. Hope you're fantastic. Bitcoin Ethereum Litecoin BCH today. We have a huge rejection for Bitcoin and a lot of shenanigans have been going on since we last spoke. So looking at the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, we had the clear lower high of resistance, and I was pointing out how the bulls could take out multiple 4-hour resistances in one bull move and then compared it to Ethereum and said Ethereum unlikely to be able to do that. So we did get that bull break, and it occurred right when BitMEX went down for the maintenance. And a lot of people think that it was timed, and it certainly does look a little bit suspect. We also had some tether moving around. So either way, that pump was very short-lived, the 5-minute time frame. It was one of those pumps where, the bull move lasts 10, 15 minutes and doesn't see a ton of follow-through. And as soon as the hourly time frame did this, I'll show you where the red flag was. So we saw the initial bull move and the consolidation, and right when we hit our low and then started to try and bounce and then pulled back, this little mini bear flag almost, that's when there was a bit of a red flag, the lack of any follow through. And it's one of those scenarios where the bulls say, all right, well, here we go again. We had a 10-minute bull move and now we're just fading for hour after hour. There's no follow through behind it. So where we stand now is we just had a clear bear break. And the bear break was in response to this consolidation was fine. We were holding hourly exponential support. There was no volume. And then we had a news China. Look at this headline. And here it is again, where it's just over exaggerated headlines causing panic. China bans all crypto events after spending $3 billion to fund blockchain startups. It's just not true. So there is a specific district. I'm not even going to try and say it. This district is what has banned the events. And looking at the population of this district, I did the math, compared to the population of China, that would be pretty much in the US like the town or the city of Memphis, Tennessee doing something and the entire country reacting. So if Memphis, Tennessee banned chewing gum and then a headline comes out saying United States bans chewing gum is essentially what this is. And what that does do with these headlines is there are algos and bots that respond to these headlines. And in the larger world of markets, I don't have the specific off the top of my head, the example, but a very rough example. We had the company that spent a ton of money and put a giant wire down in the ocean. What was the name of the book or the high frequency trading? It's slipping my mind right now. It's on Google. But they spent a ton of money. They put this wire in, and the purpose of that was to shave literally fractions of seconds off of when they receive the news of fundamental economic events. So today was an example where the FOMC, which regulates economic decisions of the United States, they put out minutes, they put out information on their meeting, and as soon as that hits, the market reacts. And it reacts way faster than humans would be able to. And it's these bots and these algos that scan through and they look for keywords. So these keywords, China banning and Bitcoin or blockchain, all in the same title, without a doubt, it caused instant reactions from these algos and bots. And then obviously it's just a waterfall effect on the follow through. So it eliminated all of the bull move from last night. And now we have the bears taking back over. The daily exponential resistance continues to reject the price. It looked like the bulls were closing over it. But here we are just rejecting yet again. So at this point, we're looking down at support of 62.28. And then we're looking down at 5,900. And the reference I'm thinking of, it's Flash Boys, Flash Crash Boys, something like that. You'll find it if you're interested. So what we're looking at now is the ETF decision, and that could come out sometime in the next 24 hours. And I'm very, very interested to see the psychology of how this is all going to play out. Because what I say to myself when I see this setup is, number one, say we get a bearish reaction to the ETF. Who is going to be left to sell their long positions that has not sold before the ETF decision? And who is left to jump in short that has not jumped in already before the decision? Again, the decision is expected to be rejected. That is what the market should be pricing in at this point. And the question is, Philicone's going out there saying that we're going to see a dump. So all his followers are already in short positions. Who's going to be left after the reaction? So there are some people out there that will add to already established positions if we get the rejection. That could be an answer, but I'm just going to be watching very close the first 30 minutes of that reaction. If I see any kind of long lower wick, I'm going to be looking to buy and bottom fish the low of that move. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, the bears have a lot of momentum and a lot of things in their favor, but it is also entering a scenario where psychologically, if everybody is looking a certain way, if things shift just a little bit, it can cause the opposite reaction to happen. So that's what I'm keeping an eye out for. If we see a break of 62.28, we're looking down at 6,000, 5,900, and then the low that we've seen of consolidation, 5,777. So again, it's a scenario where the bulls have to prove themselves, but I'm just fascinated, and I will be fascinated from the sidelines watching how it plays out. I did make a bull break yesterday on that move. I market bought. I had a price alert set from days ago, and it triggered, and I looked and saw the bull move occurring and the volume behind it. So I market ordered in, and I got in at about 6,685 was perhaps my average on the market buy. And then I was selling above 6,800, sold half of my position to lock in that profit. I was going to let half of it ride, and I ended up stopping out break even pretty much on the trade when this low right here broke, and that broke on the news, the low of consolidation. The bulls tried to turn around the 15-minute time frame, lower highs, building a base of support, and right before we got to a flex point, that's when the news came out. Looks perfectly timed, but who knows? All speculation. There's games going on. There's no doubt about that. And a lot of people are saying that these games are a clear reason why these ETFs are going to be rejected. There's too much manipulation in this space. There's no regulation. And this BitMEX thing last night and the way that the price reacts to any kind of headlines, it definitely is a valid point. So we'll see how we end up with this ETF rejection. As far as the weekly chart goes, it's a potential bear flag. So we had the drop and the weak bounce attempt. And this is a little potential bear flag. It is entirely possible we drop down and hit new lows. So again, bears are still comfortable. Shorts are still through the roof, really high. So they've cooled off a little bit, not significantly. But unless the bulls can convincingly trap some shorts, they're not doing much. Ethereum on the daily chart is also still extremely weak. So again, I like the setup where if I'm looking bullish, I'm looking at Bitcoin. And if I were to be looking bearish, I would be looking at Ethereum bearish, because comparative to Bitcoin, it is certainly weaker. We're down now, already breaking to a lower low. That support of 268.02 is being tested right now. And that's essentially what would happen if Bitcoin were this week. We'd be down at 62.28 right now. And we're currently $100 above that. So Ethereum is testing the lows. We are going to be watching 60 or make that 250 after that support level. That's the next level we're watching. And in terms of 4-hour lower highs, so we did break one resistance level on that bull move, but we saw the space from all the other resistance levels, couldn't get over those, gave the whole bull move back, and here we are testing support. So ETH continues to be very weak, BTC continues to be very weak, and Litecoin continues to be weak. Not as weak as Ethereum. I can see just comparatively, we're not testing the low of consolidation just yet, so holding up slightly better, but not by much. Support is 53.19, make that 53.15, and then down to 49.33. And in terms of resistance, everybody's looking at the high of their reaction from yesterday as a resistance level. So it's 59.21 for Litecoin. And watching for the potential of a 4-hour equilibrium. So the size of the bounce was big enough that we're looking to form this higher low. If we bounce, we'll look for a lower high and a 4-hour equilibrium to be watching into tomorrow. Ethereum 4-hour equilibrium is not possible because we lost this 4-hour higher low. And Bitcoin 4-hour equilibrium, we did lose a higher low here. So I would say not possible there as well. BCH USD also holding on slightly better than Ethereum, but those three, aside from Bitcoin, are all very, very similar. Support is down at 510.04, followed by 473, and resistance on the 4-hour time frame. We had a top set at 577, didn't break many lower highs, only broke one 4-hour resistance level. So again, a scenario where Bitcoin's resistance levels were all stacked really close to each other. We broke them all in one bull move, and they were spaced out on all these other names, so we didn't break them all in one bull move. Trying to hold that support level and see a bounce, and we'll anticipate lower highs on the 4-hour time frame on these bounces. So the bottom line is we have an ETF decision event coming up. Everybody who's anybody should be expecting a rejection. I will be stunned if we get a significant pullback on this rejection. We could drop, $100-$200 real quick, but if we don't see any bounce and we drop, $300, I'm just going to say, okay, this market is dumb, because this market should be pricing in a rejection to this point. So that's where we stand. Bears are comfortable. Definitely a little bit of sweat on this move. But again, if these bull moves aren't going to last more than 10 minutes, the bears aren't really too concerned. So if we don't see hourly, anytime I see a bull move like that, I want to see an hourly bull flag in continuation for proof that there is follow through and there's continued sustained buying pressure, because these bull moves are short lived and they don't see any follow through. It's almost like if you didn't get in on the first 5 or 10 minutes, bulls have no other momentum left. And that's been the case for quite some time now while we've been in this downtrend. And we are in a scenario right now where the bulls are barely clinging on to support. We have our backs against the wall. And the bears are trying to finish the bulls off, at least in the short term. So again, I'm on the sideline and very cautious and patient and very interested to see how this reaction goes. And again, I will buy this dip. If I see the bulls, all I want to see is a long lower wick and a stop level to utilize. So let's see on the hourly time frame if I can get an example. So let's just say we had an all-out dump in reaction to a bearish news. And let's actually get a shorter term. Let's see it on the 15-minute time frame. A clear flush of what I would be looking for and a potential entry. So if we were to dump down and then see the bulls start to buy the dip with some decent volume, it would be a scenario where, again, it's a very low risk trade. Say we set a bottom and we see the start of a lower wick form. If I make a bullish entry at that point and I set my stop loss below the low, I'm not risking much at all. And that's just, the risk is very small, and the reward of a potential event where the bulls do surprise all the bears and buy that dip a bit more aggressively than anticipated, the reward would be hundreds of percent more than what the risk would be. So that is a potential play that I am going to be looking at, but I'm going to be making that decision on the fly as it all plays out. And of course, I'm going to put a stop loss right in after that, as it will be counter momentum. So I appreciate you all continuing to watch, and I hope you all continue to do good things, heading out to try and get some sunset tonight at the beach. And the videos here at the end of the day, we got some buffalo going on. Some more Yosemite. Actually, this is Yellowstone, where there were buffalo when we were hiking on our trail. And then it was a scenario where it was really cold at night. It got down below freezing, so we had to sleep out around the fire just to stay warm and comfortable. And it was the kind of thing where, our backs would have frost on them, and we'd roll over towards the fire, and then our other side would get frost. But we woke up that morning with the sun, and 3 of these huge bison were just walking literally, 10 feet around us, and could care less that we were there. They were just doing their morning grass munching. So as far as this bounce goes on Bitcoin currently trying to play out, it's very weak. We just saw a bear flag on the 15-minute time frame that led to another leg down, and another potential bear flag on the 15-minute. The hourly RSI is approaching oversold. That's obviously another scenario. What are the hourly and 4-hour RSI levels at if we get an ETF rejection? And we're already starting pretty beat up. So unless, this hourly RSI, if the news were to come out right now, a rejection of the ETF, unless this hourly RSI is going to go down to single digits, we're not going to drop multiple hundreds of dollars. So that RSI is a factor as well. Thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow. Again, stay vigilant. Keep your stop loss levels in place, because things are likely going to see an uptick in action and volume and volatility within the next 24 or 30 hours or so.